Hello and welcome to Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that unites the global fan base of our much beloved Celtic. Now, I've been rushed off my feet and I haven't had a chance to do the from A to B, from X to Y. Do we want to do one on the hoof, Stephen, from somewhere in Scotland? Name a place name.
I would say from Saltcoats to Santiago.
Brilliant.
From
David?
Terengganu to Tangier.
The well-known Scottish place name of Terengganu there, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? And hello, Brian. We better say hello to you. You don't need to do any homework for us. Just say hello.
Hello.
And hello to everyone in the comments. A lot of usual faces there. There's Monty always likes to run through our names just in case we forget. In order of importance: Gavin, Brian, Stephen, and David.
I won't argue with that.
Neither will I.
Remember, no homophobic slurs today. Was there homophobic slurs last time? Oh, I keep putting up blooming accidental messages here. Cowdenbeath to Colombia. Righty-ho. All right, lads. Well, this is the last regulation episode of the season, which would bring a tear to the eye if you're that way inclined. Of course, we have a series of summer shows to do every Thursday, apart from this Thursday. That'll be starting next Thursday. So what are we going to be talking about today for all our very good friends in chat? Well, this. First of all, scenes of triumph and fallout from the big game. Eventually, we'll get around to analysing, well, not really analysing, but discussing the main points of the game, this time without stills, because I simply didn't have time to get them done, unfortunately. It's not like I'm already got my feet up and I'm on the beach. The season's over and I can't be arsed doing it, for our beloved viewers. It's just too busy. Players departing, we're going to talk about a little bit. And, well, Celtic socials maybe, but I think most of those are going to appear during the course of the chat, you know what I mean? As we go through all of this stuff. Let's pop this on. Ah, dear. There's more Charlie in Cowdenbeath in Colombia. Good to know. All right, so well, let's start with a bit of emotions. Stephen, talk me through your emotions.
Well, by the end of the game, it was just absolute and complete and utter delight. I'm almost, during the game, not the case, but I think after the game, reflecting on it, I think beating the Huns with a last-minute goal in a cup final, it's got to be up there with the best things ever. And I think looking back on it after the event, it's probably better than pumping them 5-0, to be honest. I think I got a lot more satisfaction out of that game after it was all done, of course. During the game, I'm not going to tell you I wasn't nervous at points, but it's just a fantastic achievement for the club and for the players to have delivered a double in a season which looked at one point as if it was spiralling out of control the wrong way. It's just been an incredible achievement by everyone concerned. So it's just a great time to be a Celtic fan. All the celebrations, all the great scenes, coupled by all the devastation coming from Ibrox. And I really think this latest setback for them is just about broken some of them. Some of the social media comment coming from their end has been just hilarious.
Absolutely. It has been a tough old season. I can't get my head around the fact, David, that we've won a double this year and we won the league by more points than the previous 2 years. I mean,
Yeah,
it's extraordinary.
that stat about us winning more than previous season, that kind of baffles me. Yeah, and I still need to go back and check and make sure that's correct because it just doesn't seem right. There was many points in the season. I always remember, sort of the pattern of this show. I kind of go and remember the shows when we were saying we're waiting for players are out, let's see what happens. We were backing everybody. And I could see the tide flowing. We were starting to really start worrying about what was going on, what the board were doing, what the the videos that we did about people being employed because they were part of the family, and we were all getting really frustrated by everything that was going on. January was a nightmare for us. Losing all of those points that we had accumulated, wondering what the manager was doing, throwing players under the bus at times. Was it a complete strategy? None of us had a clue at times, honestly. We tried to guess our way through. So getting to the end of this and coming out with a double, I'd love to think it was all by design, but I can't believe that. I can't believe that. With Steve, he was euphoric after that. Obviously, I was delighted, but I was kind of just relieved. I was relieved at the end of it. Thank goodness we got to this point. But also concerned that if we have this kind of success, the board don't give money back. And they're like, we planned all of this.
It seems like a long time ago, Brian, that we were talking about whether Brendan was going to get the boot or not. And at one stage you were like, I don't think he'll be here next season. And God love him, I don't want him here next season. Has the worm turned? Yeah.
No, I think there was a lot of narrative about Brendan when he came back. And it's almost like the media was elevating that. Okay, we lost a couple of games. But it's like, we lost a few points as well. But I after a while, I just started to trust him. You know, what
do you mean by a while? Because I didn't start feeling that until very recently.
Funnily enough, the game that I started believing in the team and Brendan was when we got beat 2-0 away to Hearts. And I just felt that, I says, this is siege mentality now. We're taking everybody on here. And we took them all on. We took the SFA on, took John Beaton on, took on Lundstrom and all these, 1970s players, and we delivered. I just think from an anxiety point of view for Brendan, the squad, and us as fans, I think next season will be a lot different. I think we'll have a lot of things in place. And I think, I mentioned on the drink along a couple of weeks ago, I think we could potentially be having another Seville moment next season if we get the right people in. But
let's look forward to next season later on in the show.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Later on in the show. Because, there's more questions than answers at this stage about what next season's going to look like for everyone involved. So, well, let's have a wee look, first of all, at this was somebody's Celtic socials choice, but we're kind of going to do it during the show, as I said. So this is from Celtic Bars, our good friend, Celtic Bars. And let me see. Make that full screen. Let's see your CSE celebrations around the world. There's Dubai hoops. The sheer joy in Dubai. Let's have a look at some of these. French CSE. Paris calling. New York Fenian boys and girls, and which is the number one CSE in New York. And we might be having them on over the summer for a chat. By the way, the mention of homophobic slurs earlier, we might also be having the Proud Huddle CSE on to talk about their particular supporters club and the issues they face. So there'll be no more homophobic slurs from here, or else they won't come on. Houston Bobby Lennox CSC. Oh, they've got a special guest. You see who that is? In the middle of the screen.
Fran
Alonso. Yeah.
Oh no. What's going to happen if I close that? Could you hear that?
No.
San Diego Tim's tour guide CSE Davy McLaughlin among the tour guide CSE. I've tried to get him on the show, and I had to go through Celtic. What was the term? Some I don't know, some official channels, Celtic FC, and they've been absolutely hopeless and never really replied to me. Tried a couple of times. Lone Star, there's our friends at Lone Star CSC. Plowboys, Philadelphia. Norway, San Francisco. Ottawa. Look at that. Chicago. Valencia, St. Pat's. Holy City. Charleston. Benalmadena. It's a Celtic world, lads. Innit?
Just looking at that, Gav, it took me back to obviously all the expats and stuff. But do you now think that with the joy of Jack Charlton and the few years we had together, going to World Cups and stuff, is Celtic now the new Ireland? You know, I'm talking about as a club, as a
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you know, everybody seems to be, you know, anybody. Celtics are either the number one or they're certainly their number two. But I do think they're creating that type of carnival atmosphere from the fans' point of view that maybe that we had on the, you know, Jack Charlton days in Ireland. You know,
There was a post actually that Gav replied to as a Celtic World, and I thought it was a really good post. And it was like, you know, the lineup. You've seen the picture with the team from behind the team lined up with everybody, the supporters, and it was with all your money in the leagues below. You can never get this, and I think Gav just went amen or something on the reply to that. And it's I think to your point, Brian, I think there's certainly a kind of love of Celtic. That look at that's the one.
That's the picture.
That's the picture. I think there is a genuine love of Celtic beyond because of the diaspora, because of what we did. That I sent that in as my social because Dave has done an incredible job. 13 million hits or something like that he's had. He was sorting out one of the CSCs at the last minute, just doing it tirelessly. I actually talked to Dave once we did the video. We forget all of these things that we did. Maybe we did a video with Celtic Bars, going through all of the CSCs from where they were in the world, the 6 million supporters, etc. And one of the things I spoke to Dave about, and we haven't done it yet, was we would create short clips of every single CSC in the world on video so that we could put it together. So if you wanted to on his website, you'd have a short clip of that, and we could probably do something for this show. So I think I'd love to do something like that, but a lot of work. When I reached out to a few CSCs, I never really got back. I guess people have got commitments and whatever else. So,
indeed. Well, let's look at some more pictures of the event. First of all, from our own Jerry. Who's Jerry? Jerry and Sean there. Who are they with?
Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah. Look at that. It's good, isn't it?
Very good.
Oh, and we have a video from Jerry. And does anyone want to remind us what our instructions were to Jerry about holding
Put them
his phone?
landscape and not portrait.
Yeah, hold your phone sideways, Jerry. So fresh with those instructions, Jerry went off to Celtic Park and took this video of the trophy lift. Somewhere along the line, he remembers. How'd you like that appearance there, David?
Oh, there from the Saturday when I sent over. Yeah, I love it. That's my favourite look. Now got to convince the wife I'm allowed to do it again.
The funniest thing about that trophy presentation was, I don't know if you've seen the angle from a bit further down today that was circulating, and it showed you behind the trophy celebration, you had all the television gantry, and you had Neil Lennon was there, Scott Brown was there, and they're all celebrating and cheering. And the other three people were Alan McGregor, Alan Hutton, and the Premier Sports presenter, who's a girl whose name escapes me at the moment, and they had their backs turned on the Celtic players lifting the trophy. And it scanned round a little bit, and some of the Rangers' wives and girlfriends were there also, and they also had their backs turned to the Celtic players. And I thought, what a ridiculous level of pettiness. You're dealing with so-called professionals here. And I don't mind, Alan McGregor, we know what Alan McGregor is, and Alan Hutton probably as well, but the sports presenter, clearly seething, clearly absolutely bitterness oozing out.
She should be removed then. If she, or certainly,
yeah, I mean,
because
absolutely,
it's just that's bad crack. There's no many a time we've been at matches over the years, and even some stuff to do with work, and you still clap the other person off. You don't turn your back on anybody.
I thought the turn backs were female, maybe wives of players or something, but I didn't see. I saw pictures of those three, the commentary team or whatever, looking glum, but I didn't see them with their backs turned. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'll see if I can. I did see it today. I'll see if I can find I'll see if I can find that clip, and I'll share it to you, because they definitely did. They weren't looking. They were looking at. They were staring off in the other direction. And Neil Lennon and Scott Brown were obviously staring towards the Celtic players. So I just thought it was ridiculous.
I have the feeling that we should allow them to do it, because imagine if you put this in as the precedent, how many times next season they're going to have to do it again and again and again, and we can watch them walking away.
And the thing that gets my goat as well is, I was thinking about this morning, Kenny Miller, as a professional athlete, as a professional sportsman, he played for Wolves, he played for Hibs, and he played for them, and he played for us for a season, but he shows us zero respect. You know what I mean? And could you imagine any other, I'm looking at Sol Campbell or somebody, played for Arsenal, played for Spurs, he still would be professional when he's talking. That wee prick had probably his best days in Europe under us. You know what I mean? And he just shows that he's nothing but just a wee Neanderthal, Indeed
he is. Well, let's turn our attention to one of our own. I showed you this video on a recent show. I don't know if everyone saw it, but this is what Jerry received a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Once upon a time, I used to be Brian McIver. I'm going to be in Singapore on the day of the Scottish Cup final. I'd like to come to Muddy Murphy's and watch the game with all you guys. You think that'd be okay? Hail, hail.
Another portrait phone user there, Chalky McClare. And then what happened was this. There he is with all the Sing Tims. That's in Muddy Murphy's. As you can see there, Muddy Murphy's Irish pub, Singapore. And he's the only one without a white beard. See that, Steve?
Yeah, I see him in the middle there. Yeah.
There's Rod Stewart behind him.
That's the guy I spoke to. Do you remember? I did a couple of interviews.
That's right, yeah. Nice fella.
Yeah, quite nice guy, yeah.
I spoke to him and Sean, who was with Jerry at the game. The guy Sean that you saw in the first picture with wee Jay. Alrighty then, I've got loads of things to share. What should we share next? Oh, there was this as well before we move on. Yeah. They gave him a Sing Tim's top. And apparently he had a great time, David. What did Jerry tell you about that?
So, yeah, I asked him, I said, what was the reaction from it? Obviously, the beards and stuff, I think he was totally tickled by that. But then I posted after they'd given them the Sing Tim flag and the top with his name on it. after the event, both he and his missus independently wrote to them, just saying, expressing their heartfelt thanks and what a warm reception they received. So they were absolutely tickled by it. But the effort they made to come back and acknowledge it was just lovely. So it was really nice to hear that story.
Great guy, Brian McIver. His podcast, Life with Brian,
Very good.
is really worth a listen. It's really good if you're into that sort of thing. He's such an interesting character, not your normal ex-footballer. Very intelligent man, and everything he says is very well thought out and really funny as well. Really humorous. So worth a listen. Life with Brian, it's called.
I remember years ago, Lee Sharp at Man United saying that Brian McIver was different from all the other players because he used to read the posh papers, the big ones. The big ones
No
on
cheese.
the bus.
He was at Glasgow Uni doing mathematics while he was playing at Celtic and dropped out to make the commitment to the football. So he's not. Obviously, he's a guy with something about him.
Well, from one very intelligent footballer who's incredibly dedicated and loved by all to another. Enjoyed this.
This one.
Look at the face on
Oh my God.
As somebody said, who was it, said Ian in our group chat, he really hates him, doesn't he?
Is that a mini sash or something there? Like it's extremely big flower. What's with the red thing?
Yeah, it's a rose or something.
I didn't see it. No, it seems very.
I find that utterly telling.
Look at the body language, though.
It's terrible. The whole thing, I mean, he was quite actually. So I think Philippe Clement was actually quite physically violent towards him as he pushed him away.
Oh, I'll show you a video in a second.
Yeah. It wasn't nice.
Yeah, but that a final whistle, wasn't it? He tried to, old TikTok tried to confront the referee for some reason. And Philippe Clement just really, really violently pushed him out of the way. You see it here? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Watch
that's
it over
not
and over again.
Oof.
And the way he walks away, I mean, imagine getting pushed by your manager like that and shouted at in front of the world.
Oof. That's a violent push. That's not a look after, get sorted stuff. That's not nice.
If I'd have pushed, one of us would have pushed him, he'd have been on the fucking floor. That's a wee sort of go on. Who knows?
The thing about Todd Cantwell is if you're going to go on like that and behave like that, you've got to have something to back it up. You've got to be a good player and you've got to bring someone to the party. And the bottom line is he's absolutely shite. And if they if they have any hope, if they have any hope for the future, and far be it from me to hope that they do, they need to get rid of guys like that. He's a guy they need to show the door to because he's all social media. He's all front, but he's got absolutely nothing to back it up. And Saturday past was just another event where he's just not turned up, and he's just garbage and rightfully substituted again.
See him putting all this crap up. Oh, a bird and he can't be flying in a cage. And then fair play to Clement, he played him. And then he realised why the fucking bird's back in the cage. You know what I mean? He's just a wee, I don't know. Wouldn't get a game.
I made a comparison when we were watching the game about Silva. I actually don't think I think he's a terrible play actor. I utterly hate that kind of roll around on the ground stuff. It was ridiculous. But Silva's actually got more talent, some skill. He bossed AG about. He actually had a decent go at it at the weekend. I don't like him. Don't like his style of play, but he's got something. But this guy, TikTok, has nothing. Absolutely nothing about his game that he would want.
If you're a teammate of them, and right, this is the chance to sort of put one up and at least sort of prevent us doing the double. And you see him fannying around and doing it, you would take him outside and fucking smack him. I'm sorry, maybe I'm in the wrong century, but you couldn't have that as a teammate. You want people who are going to be in the trenches with you. You know what I mean? Putting like CCV, that's who you want with you.
No.
Or TikTok Todd. Shockingly bad. At least boys like Letitia and all these kind of silky skills players had it and they delivered in the big games, and that's what Adamida's done, and the other boy hasn't.
It's funny, I was reading this sort of Norwich forum from years ago about Cantwell and how they tired of him. And they were saying, he does this everywhere he goes, or he's going to do this everywhere he goes, and he'll be retired, early because, he's not as good as he thinks he is. He's forever on social media. His mouth's bigger than he's writing checks that his skills can't cash, basically. And eventually that'll just wind up managers, fan bases.
He puts me in mind of your man Jimmy Bullard, but without the skills.
He was a good player, Bullard. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is, Bullard was a bit, but your man's just, I don't know. He'd end up working soon.
Did you see the Barbie spoof?
Yes.
Social media?
Yep.
That was
Would
funny.
you like to see it again?
That was
Yes.
buckled. Yes.
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's have a look.
I've got no sound on this because we'll get copyright struck for Mama Cass.
What was interesting leading up to that the weekend there was apparently he was up in Loch Lomond. So one of their supporters grassed him in because he'd been ordering drinks to his room. His family was up or something. So with this kind of trade-off between some people defending him and some people saying, so the person that posted this, some were going after and saying, you're a grass, blah, blah, blah. And then others were like, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't be up there in Loch Lomond. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. I don't know if it was, but it wasn't Celtic fans. It was their own going after him.
Who's that by? Can you see what it says there? A bit of an animal?
Yeah, a bit of an animal.
Yeah. Well done for that. If you made that, that's excellent. Very entertaining.
It's an interesting comparison, isn't it? Comparing him to Adam Eder. Both of them having came from Norwich.
Yeah.
Both played together down there. Now Adam Eder has just come up here, worked really hard, bided his time, and basically been a massive contributor to Celtic's success this year. Whereas Todd Cantwell's just come up, clearly not putting the work in, more interested in making TikTok videos than improving himself as a player. And just being all show, and he's just ended up looking like a dick, basically. And Adam Eder's walked away with 2 medals, and looking like he's got a decent future ahead of him, whether that's at Celtic or somewhere else. But he certainly looks like as if he's going to make it as a player. But whereas Cantwell, his career's on the downward slide.
Funny, he used Adam Eder for his integration equality when they were both at Norwich. He used that.
Do you think? I mean, he's obviously got a manager. There's obviously somebody, and it's like that arsehole Barton. You take them to the side and say, Todd, look, at the end of the day, maybe try and get move to Southampton or something here, 18 grand a year. But get off the buck on TikTok, will you? Knock it in the head, or you'll never play again.
Quite a difference between Callum McGregor when he was saying, I'm not on social media.
Yeah.
I only look to what's next. And the rebuild, it was almost like Callum McGregor's interview was just like, that was good. Now I'm going after the other cup that we lost.
Yeah.
That was a manager in waiting, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
That is a true
I
captain.
I also heard him saying last week, he was asked just after we had clinched the league, they had asked him, what motivates you at Celtic? And he says, what motivates me is the one we didn't get.
Yeah.
When we lost the league back in the COVID season. Every time I get up, when I'm going out to train, that's what I think about, how bad that felt and how I never want that to happen again. And that was kind of reflective in what he was saying today as well, when he's saying they want the League Cup back again because that was one they lost this year. So nothing's, he's just saying to them, we must always strive to be better. And let's hope that's an attitude that's permeating the whole club this summer, not just the playing squad.
I think there's something. Go ahead.
I feel exactly the same way, Stephen. Do you remember when we had Alicante CSC on and it was a total disaster and we couldn't hear him? We had loads of technical problems and, I never want to feel all that again. That's why I annoy everyone and ask them if they've got YouTube on every time before we go live, even though it pisses everyone off. And I go on about lighting and stuff.
And landscape and not portrait.
So you're the Callum McGregor of a Celtic world, Gav, the captain.
Callum McGregor, see when he's being interviewed and he's being asked a question, as the question's being asked, he's there like nodding, like he can't wait to start the answer. You know, he's a ball of energy, isn't he?
He's
just
prepared.
can't wait
He's a
to get
professional.
on with life. You know, he's on a mission
He's a professional.
all the time.
Consummate. I don't know that us in me with my more advanced years could keep up that face to media, to the questions in the way that young man does. Yeah. And he's still a young man, but he's incredibly professional.
David,
really,
he will be chomping at the bit to get out and play for Scotland's friendly. He just wants to be on the pitch. He's not interested in anything else. And you know something, you've heard it here first. If all the stars align, and I mean that, if Scotland can catch Germany cold, like the way we did beat Italy 1-0, right? Germany will probably win the thing, but if a few things go right for Scotland, and Clark, my worry about Clark is he won't want to have a whole Celtic team out there. But if he plays to his strengths, Scotland could make it through the next round. Like, I hope they do, you know.
Pete McGee's gurning that we haven't started yet for some reason. I don't know what he's talking about. I told you what the order of events was.
Yeah.
You know, we're going through this stuff. Let's give a big shout out to, what happened on the drink along at the very start of the drink along. Somebody came through with a promise that if we won the league, they would have a haircut of a certain style. Stephen, I'm not sure if you've seen this yet. Have you?
I don't think I have, but I think I know what's coming. I think I was on that show where the promise was made.
Well, okay, well, enjoy this then. Kaiser's dramatic new haircut.
Yeah, do we need to add some kind of drum roll or?
I'm not sure.
You can do one.
There he is.
Oh. Yo!
Oh, he's going for the Bernabeu.
I got the Brendanrodgers.
Very good. You really did, man. That's amazing.
All for viewers. I told you. If Celtic win today, the boys need to get the gav.
Well done. Well done. That's amazing. Show us it again. Show us it again. Oh, look at that. That's hilarious.
You are a fucking maniac.
My butler was howling today. Let's go. The Brendanrodgers for a Celtic world. That's for the victory today, legends. Let's go.
You're getting a lot of love.
Gaze, you're getting tons of love.
I promised a Celtic world. When you promise something on the internet, you got to do it.
What do you think of that, Stephen?
He is absolutely bonkers, isn't he? If fair play to him, he said he was going to do it, and he did it. I can't say I would have done it. You know, I think I would have tried walking that one back, but you know, he's got some sort of build on him. But I think we've established that already, haven't we? With his homemade videos round at the front door of Ibrox after Celtic have pumped Rangers with no Celtic fans there. So I think we've established that he's got some cajones on him. So fair play to him. Great crack.
Indeed. Very good. Brian, would you be able to muster a Brendan Bayo, as he calls it?
I probably could, but it may be a bit greyer than the green, but I suppose I could work green away.
We better explain that just for anyone who doesn't know what it means. David, do you want to offer a wee explanation?
I don't, because I wasn't on the show when he decided it.
Weren't you?
There was a guy. I'll go.
No.
Do you want me to say?
Ahead,
so we were doing the Celtic socials, and somebody put up about this guy who got his haircut, and then it zoomed in, and he had the Bernabeu, wasn't it?
Yes. No, it was the Maracanã.
Maracanã.
He was a Brazilian-looking guy with a Maracanã.
And I think at the time we were sort of.
So his hair curls up like this, like the stands, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's a green pitch in the middle. It's hilarious. And then Kaiser says, "I'll do that if we win the league." At a time when there was no guarantee we were going to win the league.
We were 5 points off.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
You know.
So he was safe. He thought he was safe to do it.
Fair play. He delivered. Both of them,
Certainly
everyone
did.
delivered. You know.
All right, well, we better keep Pete McGee happy here and do something that he expects, which, as I assume, talk about the game. Is that what he wants? I don't have any stills, didn't have time to do all that. So, Stephen, tell us how the game began and how the first half unfolded for you. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the first half was really, really similar to every other time we've played them this season. We were in, I would say, almost complete control of the game. The back four was passing through their press with real ease. So we were getting the ball out to the wide players relatively simply. And we looked as if we were going to have a day out, to be honest. We just weren't able to convert that into goals this time. But I think if we'd went like 1 or 2 goals up in the first half, nobody would have really been able to complain because we were in complete control of the match. And it wasn't until maybe a sort of 10-minute period just before half time that they started coming into it again. And that sort of continued into the second half. But the first half for me was complete control by Celtic. And, at half time I had no fears at all.
Brian, you go along with that?
Yeah, they seem to be, like, pardon the pun, doing the low block and just sort of trying to keep us at bay for the first half, and we were trying to find a way through. But I never felt that we were under any kind of major pressure, and the referee seemed to be decent enough. Maybe that was the Stella glasses I was seeing it through. But no, it never looked as if. I think it was a sort of 6 out of 10 first half. Just let's get it done.
Yeah, I agree with Maestro here. I thought they approached the game very differently from previously. They were up and at it, in our faces, loads of energy, pressing as much as they could and just sort of nullifying us, stopping us from playing. And they did so very well, did they not, David? We didn't look really
I wasn't
like
very happy
ourselves
with
there.
the way in which we played the first half at all. I agree with Steve and I agree with Brian. There was another gear there ready when we needed it. Again, it was one of those frustrating Brendan games set up where he was quite prepared to dig deep, wait for them. And myself and Kaiser were kind of going back across each other. He was saying, no, he's setting it up, he's drawing them out. Well, I felt that they had way too much time on the ball in their own half to build out from the back. Not that they had the midfield capability to do so in the way that we did, but I felt that we should have crushed them more. There was early on in the game where Scales had taken a punt up, and I thought, that's what I want to see. I want to see just long balls up to threaten them, and we won't do this long, drawn-out build-up process, which we seem to insist upon. That caused us trouble. I don't believe the ref had a good first half at all. I think we were getting hacked to bits many times, and it should have been called much earlier. Authority should have been put in. In terms of penalty claims and all the rest of it, I think that evened out throughout the entire match. But I don't think the ref had a good game in terms of controlling there. There was too many fouls on us that were allowed. And I don't think we did what we should have done, which was press them high, regardless of our build-up, how we got there. So, yeah, that was my take on it. But
I think Rangers approached the game more or less the same way that every other SPL team approaches the game against us. They tried to spoil it. They tried to spoil the game. They tried to break up play. They tried to get in our faces, and they tried to get physical with our players. And they were reasonably successful at doing some of that. So I think what we can deduce from that is that that's what they are now. They're the best of the rest of the SPFL, and they're maybe just a more polished version of St Mirren, and that's what we're up against, and that's where they are as a club at the moment. They can't play football against us. They didn't have any game plan except for disrupting our game, and it worked for them up to a point. But they never really threatened our goal. And even in the second half, when they started to come into the game more, it was only set pieces was all they had. They never got in behind us. They never really cut through us. They never opened us up. It was all just set piece deliveries into the box that gave them their opportunities. So I didn't think they were they didn't show anything in an attacking sense. And I'm not having this narrative that they were by far the better team and all this crap. They were fairly successful in nullifying our main two midfield threats in Hatate and O'Reilly. But apart from set piece deliveries into the box, they didn't create. They created next to nothing. I mean, how many saves did Joe Hart have to make? You know,
there was about three or four in the first half.
Very poor efforts. Their shots on goal were all pretty crap. You know, they were technically on goal, but you know.
Would you not agree that cup finals as an event are usually crap? As an event, when was the last time? Usually the semi-final is the better game. You know what I mean? Because it was a boxing match. You know, it's just they wanted to nullify us, as Stephen says, as the boys say, in the first half, and then we eventually just grind them out. You can only do it for so long, you know.
We got a harder game off Aberdeen in the semis, if we're being honest.
Yeah, that should have been the final.
Yeah, so
my favorite commentator there.
Yeah, well, that says it all, doesn't it?
What are you talking about? Frank always talks perfect sense in a very polite and measured fashion.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, I think. I think you know, Aberdeen did the same things Rangers did, only did it more successfully and managed to score against us. So that was a harder game for me. I mean, I know we were under, you know, a little bit of pressure from crosses into the box, but we were under pressure from Aberdeen as well. It wasn't a vintage Celtic performance, and that our really good players didn't get going at all. Kyogo, O'Reilly, and Hatate all had very quiet games. But at the end of the day, we showed the fortitude required to stay the course, and for me, we fully deserved the win.
It was a winner mentality game, right, throughout the 90 minutes or whatever it was that we ended up playing. But like, why not start either from the start? Why not go after it? I don't know, man. I felt that we kind of let ourselves down a bit. We put ourselves under pressure we shouldn't have. Again, I felt that there was unnecessary kind of drawn out play that didn't need to take place at all. And look, we were fired up at the beginning, but allowed ourselves to fall back into passy stuff, give them the opportunity. I wanted us to go in there and crush them. Maybe that's where I'm coming from, but
it's almost like the Tom Rogic kind of thing, the goal against Aberdeen. You know, last minute, bang, done.
Well, what was the first thing that happened? Was it the handball incident, Ida coming on? Which happened first? The handball incident?
Well, Ida didn't come on till around about the 60-minute mark. So the handball incident was in the first half.
Talk
during
about that, because I jumped out of my seat screaming penalty immediately.
Yeah, I mean it's a penalty for me every day of the week. I mean the ball's come in, it's come off Kyogo, and Davis's arms away from his body. All this stuff I'm talking about is being spoken about as his arm being in a natural position. Absolute nonsense. His arm's in an unnatural position away from his body, and there's clear contact with the arm. And we've seen handballs given for much, much less this season. I was absolutely furious when he wasn't called to the monitor to have a look at that one, because it was as clear as day for me.
Yeah, that was brutal. And then anything else to talk about apart from? Well, let's talk about the goal.
There was another penalty claim in the first half when Maeda crossed it in for Kyogo, and two Rangers players basically slid through the back of Kyogo. I think it was Balogun who just took his back legs away from him, and he ended up giving a goal kick for it. But again, another one that should have been referred to the monitor, because there was definite contact with the back of Kyogo's leg. So, you know, given what we've seen already this season, that was another one that should have been reviewed.
Did you send me that earlier? No, you sent me a different thing.
No, I didn't see it. There's some footage of it kicking around on Twitter tonight. Some slowed down footage showing you his leg getting taken away from him as he's sliding in. So
this was something you sent me, David, wasn't it?
No,
that was me. That was one as well. Yeah. Yes, I just can't believe.
Yeah, Monday. How does he get through these games unscathed?
Yeah, I can't believe he's not been sent off for that, especially since VAR looked at it, because he spent a bit of time with VAR having a look at that. I can only imagine it was because it was pretty close to the end of the game and the ref just didn't want to go down that road that late. But that's as clear a red card as you're ever going to see. He's just become frustrated and swung a boot out. But you consider what Yang gets sent off for at Tynecastle, and then that gets let away without even a yellow card. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
What about the push on Joe Hart then? Brian, perfectly reasonable penalty. All the gurning is sort of...
David, could you bail me out of dodge here?
So basically, look, there's been lots talked about this. Was it the most severe push or otherwise? Not entirely. However, even Bobby Madden came in and said, I've sent this to 6. There you go. There's the quotes. Yeah.
Read it out if you want.
So a lot of questions asked about Raskin being held before the push on Hart. Come on. There's a holding of nature that at almost every set piece. I'm sure if you studied that incident, there will be multiple offences. You can only punish offences that clearly impact opponent who is challenging for the ball. I don't think the first contact is a foul, but we'll also say the ball wasn't in play, so couldn't be punished. After the push, there is a further which is irrelevant and not enough for a foul anyway. I've shown that video to 6 elite European referees, and they all say foul on goalkeeper and goal should be disallowed.
I think I shared something with you also earlier, Gav, and it was some slowed down footage of that incident. And there seems to be a narrative being developed among the Huns that Joe Hart was nowhere near the ball, regardless of whether he get pushed or not. And the video that I sent through clearly shows that even with the push, he almost got a hand on it. Yeah, he was sent a centimetre away from getting a hand on it. And Raskin's just pushed him under the ball, basically. So if he hasn't pushed him, he 100% gets a punch on that. As he did with all the other deliveries that came into the box. He dealt with everything, really, really well. Joe Hart, everything that was coming in right, and a hand on that 100% if it hadn't been for the push. So it's absolute nonsense. It was a clear push and a clear foul. So, we'll hear so much about this over the next few weeks about how it was never ever a foul, never ever a push, and there was
just like a bunch of total ball bags making that sort of comment. Is that what you mean? Oh, geez, what have I done? Yeah. Sorry, that's Frank, who always makes good points.
Well, he's right enough. It was never ever a penalty, but no one was asking for a penalty. It was a foul on the goalkeeper.
Oh, that's right. Of course.
I don't know how he was expecting. He was expecting a penalty. He got awarded to Rangers there.
Maybe.
So I think the whole point of all of this was there were plenty of considerations for us to be made. Plenty of fouling that was going on. The handball should have been given to us, didn't. But that was as clear as anything away from the Hart incident. Overall, in the game, it averaged out, and the better team simply won out from a tremendous drive from Bernardo. And let's talk about him at $6 million.
We'll talk about that in a second, but hold on. What about, I think, just as you're talking about the decisions there's a couple of decisions that the CFCO lot are enraged about, or there's various, but there's a couple of them I think they've got good cause to be. As the Scales push at the edge of the box or wherever it was, I mean, that should have been a free kick. And the other incident where, what's his name? Their midfielder tackles Greg Taylor. And we had a fight about this during the drink along. Dana was saying he deserved a yellow card for that. To me, it looked like a perfectly good tackle. You know the one I mean?
I don't agree. I think that was a yellow card. I think that was a yellow virgin on a red. Yeah,
what?
I think he was out of control. It's not just a question of whether he played the ball or not. It's how you approach the ball and how you approach the tackle. He wasn't in control at any point. The fact that he got something on the ball is irrelevant. He's come in out of control and airborne. And for me, that's enough for that. Yeah. I mean, the only difference between that one and the one Lundstrom gets sent off for at Celtic Park was he didn't contact with the player. But the way he flew into the challenge was exactly the same, and his studs were up. So I think he was fortunate to get away with the yellow card there. But just getting back to the push on Hart, I think one thing we should mention is I think a little bit of praise needs to go to John Beaton in the VAR. And you know me, I'm not one for praising John Beaton, but he could easily have let that one go. And we accuse him all the time of being a rampant Hun, but if he had let that one go, I don't think many people would have really. There wouldn't have been much pushback about it. There might have been a little bit of talk on Celtic podcasts like this one and other channels, but there wouldn't have been a massive pushback. So he could have let that one go and got away with it. But he was brave enough to give the correct decision at the end of the day.
Parkhead boy with a good, very sensible comment there. Thank you.
I think you're selectively picking out these comments, guy.
Moi? Selective? How dare you? All right then, Brian, the goal. Talk to us about the goal.
There's one there for you.
What was
Clear
that?
day from the Hunt there. Yeah, I can't
Get your hands off your mouse there, Stephen.
Can't really remember too much, to be fair, but I remember Bernardo had a shot and Bernardo come on and then keeper parried it like a la Superman. And then the big fella, the DDA Drogata come in and banged it in. 1-0 to the lads. Brilliant.
For me, it was the Bernardo picking up in the centre circle.
Up Sorry. David, I spoke over you there very rudely. Forgive me.
No, not at all. Don't mind. No, I think that the thing that I think we need to talk about whenever we can, Ida absolutely deserves tremendous credit for scoring those goals when he has, as he's come in. We'll talk about 6 million, all the rest of it. But for me, Bernardo, that goal came from his intent from the centre circle, the way in which he controlled, won the ball, drove forward right through and caused them. His pace was tremendous. His determination and his shot, although parried by their goalkeeper, allowed Ida to come in. So it was, Ida knew where it was going. Ida knew to go left as well. So you can see Ida knowing where the shot was almost beforehand. So he knew what was going to happen. And he was there on point, and there was no chance he was offside. It was ridiculous to suggest anything else. I think it was so quick for everybody. But Bernardo's drive, I've never been entirely convinced by Bernardo over the season, but that alone, when we see have these moments, why not talk about Bernardo now in those terms of 6 million, blah blah blah? Although for both of them, I still wouldn't pay 6 million. So
I would pay it in a heartbeat. I would pay both of them. It's money for nothing. Seriously, Bernardo has an engine as well. O'Reilly will go. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, and he's the ready-made replacement. There's no risk. Same as Adamida, no risk. And
yeah, I agree with you, Brian. I would pay the money as well. I think one of the things that has to change at Celtic over this summer is we've got to get realistic about valuations of players and about how much player you get for 5 million. And the days of getting an absolute surefire certainty for 5 million are long gone. 5 million is buying your potential now, and I think potential's there in spades from both Ida and Paulo Bernardo. I think the best thing about, getting back to what you were saying, David, the best thing about the goal for me was the way he stayed on his feet after an attempted hacking by Raskan. Now, he could very, very easily have went down there, bought his team a free kick, got the team up the park, and that nobody would have really complained. But he stayed on his feet and just took the opportunity to drive right at the heart of the defence. And his shot, he's cut across the ball with his instep to put a bit of swerve on it, and nobody's gave him credit for this. And that's what put Jack Butland off. It started going to the keeper's right, but started then moving towards his left. So Butland's all off balance. He can only throw a hand out at it, and it's come back into the path of Ida, who's tucked it away brilliantly. Again, brilliant from Ida. He's not panicked. He's kept his composure, and he drove it straight into the ground underneath the goalkeeper. Fantastic finish, fantastic lead-up play for Bernardo. So I'd be signing both of those guys tomorrow, to be honest.
No, I'll do it. Maybe I'm just kind of behind the times in terms of valuation stuff. It's like, okay,
Look, every signing's a risk, It's all about mitigating the risk as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've had both Ida there for 6 months and we've had Bernardo there for a year. So there's not really any risk there. We know what you get. We know what they're going to give you. So it's not as if we're bringing a completely new player into the equation. We've had a look at these guys and we know what they can do. And, Bernardo, one thing that struck me as well was how much he enjoyed the celebrations. He plays the game with a smile on his face, and I think he's clearly loving life at Celtic. So I think he wants to stay. And I think he's definitely got a part to play next year.
Right. I definitely
He's the
want
kind
him
of guy. He strikes me as the kind of guy that you would hear Roger saying that he's got an outstanding attitude and he wants to improve, and you're coaching him to make him better. I think he's got a long way to go. Jack Butland, did you see this meme? I saved these images and then I tried to find who it was that did this, but I couldn't find the original tweet. But this is the goal, and look at the body shape there of Butland trying to block it, and then there's a few more of these. He's off boogie boarding in Australia, or he's skydiving, or he's being held aloft there by the statue of Louis Walsh.
It's not Chris Tarrant, no.
I thought it was more Louis Walsh.
Yeah, I like that one, Louis Walsh.
And you were mentioning earlier, with the be a billionaire. And who's that then, Brian?
Yeah, that's my wee friend Kenny Miller. It just sums him up. That's just amazing. Whoever saw that, that's Kenny Miller.
That is. It's the same level of intelligence behind the eyes, isn't it?
No, I think there's more.
When you look at Miller.
There's more intelligence in that bleach bottle, but there we go. That's something. Maybe that could be a thing now for the show content. Footballers that look like kitchen utensils or something like that. Who did I think used to look like? There was a footballer, like Sam Allardyce looks like a seal or a walrus. I always had that thing about him. Oh, there we go.
So what else? Let's look at a few other little things here. Can you see that? This is someone talking about Barry Ferguson and Lustig carrying the cup out before kickoff. It's a user called Dublin Blue Nose. I couldn't help but notice one was suited and booted with a bit of pride in his appearance as he was representing us. The other looked like a classless tramp they had dragged out of the stands. It's hilarious, isn't it? That they've got so little to cling to.
What was Lustig wearing?
Well, I don't know, but that's not my point. My point is, have they got nothing else to talk about?
That's it. They won the carrying the cup on, looking really smartly dressed trophy.
Hey there, you on the sad train. You see this? They don't look like moral champions to me. I thought that was AI when I first saw it. Like, show me a train with a bunch of pissed off looking Rangers supporters. But it's real.
That's the Clockwork Orange, which is where they belong, down below us, underneath.
Just get back.
It's called the Clockwork Orange. It's the underground in Glasgow.
Oh,
it's called the Clockwork Orange because the carriages are orange in colour.
Yeah, the trains are all orange in colour, and it just basically goes round in a big circle.
Another thing might have given you a titter here, Stephen. Alistair Johnson, did you see this? Alistair Johnson on Instagram.
Yeah.
Eating a burger tonight, wee man. Alistair crams in a little Scottishism, as always. Eating a shush burger. Eating a shush burger.
Yeah, eating a shush burger, yeah.
What the fuck is a shush burger? Has anyone heard that expression before?
Yeah, it's a reference to Cantwell's Instagram post from last week.
What does it mean, a shush burger?
Does it mean anything?
Eating humble pie, is that it?
He went to the fans. He went up to the Hearts fans making the shush gesture when he scored against them at Tynecastle, and he posted about having a shush burger or some pish like that. And that was just a reference to that. That was, it didn't really mean anything.
I mean, you ever watch those American political shows or news channels and stuff? They say, the Republicans are making a big deal out of this, say the Democrats, but it's a nothing burger. That's what it makes me think of. Putting a word together with burger for some reason. I don't know why.
Hoping that it
Annoying.
catches on and then hoping that you're in front of a trend. It's desperation. There's plenty of euphemisms that can be used, but you want to be in front, right? Again, it's the TikTok mentality. I want to create something. Dear God, just play some good football.
Still looking at the comments here. Meanwhile, Maid is eating sushi. Paddy sent me a video. Sorry, Paddy, I haven't prepared that. Apologies to you. It's crap patter, says Red Scotland. Okay, so that is... Well, we're up to the hour already. I think we've shown most of the things we're going to be showing now. What about the cover that I used for today's show, the thumbnail? Kind of effectively wishing O'Reilly all the very best. We have it on good authority, do we not, from our sources at the game, that O'Reilly is definitely off. There was talk on the last show from Jerry and Paul that all may not be lost. He might just decide to stay with us and have a crack at the new Champions League format. But, the word is from reliable sources, David, that that's not going to be the case. And O'Reilly's definitely...
very close to sort of those decision makers in one way or another. It's come back to us over the weekend very reliably that he's off and preparations are being made. So I don't think it comes as a great shock to us that that's the case. It's in some ways it's kind of like, good, okay, now we know. Wonderful that he was ever a Celtic player, because I think he's just a fantastic individual, very humble guy, ridiculously handsome as well. So kind of in some ways that's not... But he's been a player that's at times in this season carried us. The big point out of all of this is players move on.
Yeah.
But now that we kind of know that he is from, again, very decent.
We give him our best regards. We wish him all the best.
100%.
If he's playing for Man United, I'll start watching Man United again, because I like the guy and I hope he does really well in his career. I think he could end up in one of the top 5 in Europe. I really do. I mean, if Eric Dyer can get a game for Bayern Munich, do you know what I mean?
I think on all of this is that now that we kind of know this fairly reliably, the board have known this for a good while longer. Mm-hmm. They've been in conversation with whomever it is he's going to also know the quantum of money that he's getting. Then there is absolutely no excuse to give Brendan Rodgers significant money to go into the Champions League for the four home games, the 4 away games after Christmas. You need substantially more than we have, because credit to Brendan Rodgers, I'll say it now, to use what we've had in reserve to get us to a cup and a league. That's fantastic. Never where I would have thought we were going to be tremendous, but let's give him some money now.
Yeah,
let's not scrimp and scrape.
Please God.
Just on Matt O'Reilly, I'm coming at it from a slightly different point of view. I think we should actively be trying to sell Matt O'Reilly this summer as part of our, trading strategy. Now we have to get ourselves out of the habit of trying to keep players for an extra season season. We need to sell players at the top of their value. And if we are going to sign the next Matt O'Reilly, we need to show them that there is a progression at Celtic, and that if you do well, if you show what you've got, then there is opportunities for you to move on to let's be honest, to bigger leagues and better leagues. And we need to show that we can't be trying to keep players longer than they want to be here. Now, the important thing is, it's been mentioned that we get the correct fee for them. And the only ceiling on the fee is one that we put on it ourselves. The fee of 50 million has been mentioned, and a lot of people have kind of laughed at that. It's been fanciful, but why not? Why not ask for it? and then see what happens. You might shake someone loose that's happy to pay that fee, and then you can take it. And as David and Brian both said, go and give Brendan some serious funds to spend to make us into a real force in the Champions League, and to recruit the next Matt O'Reilly. Because don't forget, we bought him for $1.5 million, and we're going to sell him for at least 30. So you've got to say that's a really good bit of business, whatever way you look at it.
And Steve, if he has a decent Euros, which it's not beyond, I mean, Denmark group, I don't know what their group's like, but he's if he has a decent enough Euros, then it could be.
So I think
what you could get.
I think Brian, to your point, there's other stuff that we should consider beyond Matt O'Reilly.
Yeah,
like fantastic that if he goes on, he has a fantastic career, and we get money. Wonderful, Steve. I think you make a very good point. We don't know if Hatate, Maeda, Kyogo, where are they going to be? What's the role
one of the
Kyogo?
questions in the agenda is who else is going to go that we don't want to go, David? Who would you least like to hear news of that there's loads of interest in and Celtic are willing to do business? What name would make your sphincter tighten?
I'd hate to see Kyogo go because I just think there's so many goals in that guy that he's not had the opportunity. He's missed out on, Jota supplying him. If you give that guy supply, he scores goals from nowhere. He turns on the shoulder of defenders in a way that no one else seems to be able to do. Ida is much more direct. He's a big, strong player, and I love it. It's fantastic. But Kyogo was kind of sidelined in many ways, and I feel terrible for the guy who had so much passion for this football club, for his joy, and I don't want to see him go, and I want to see him. Okay. That's my concern, biggest concern.
Kyogo for you, even though some will say he is much diminished under Brendan. Brian, whose name would you hate to see coming up?
I would cry if Dyson left us, and CCV and AJ. And other than that, everyone's got their price, but those three are my key. I think Hatate will go, but those three lads,
Yeah, I would narrow it down for me to Cameron Carter-Vickers. Probably the only one who would devastate me if he left now, because you can see the difference he's made to the team since he's come back from injury. Everyone's looked a better player. Greg Taylor, Alistair Johnson, and Liam Scales, the whole back four. Even Joe Hart, I believe, has started to look a lot more confident in goals since Cameron Carter-Vickers came back. So that would be the one that I would be worried about if he decided to move on. Because centre halves, as we know, they're not easy to find. Good ones anyway. Yeah. And that's a guy we might struggle to replace.
Yeah, I think that's a common answer. CCV.
I don't think he'd go this season, but he could go next season. I think he's going to have a go at the Champions League and then see, because I think he's found a spiritual home here. But then again, money talks. But if we see CCV and Dyson, that's my two. Everyone else can.
Indeed. Money talks and nature calls, and Paddy Riley wants time to go to the toilet before Axon. So I think that's a good enough reason for us to wrap it up, gentlemen. Wouldn't you say?
Paddy. Agree.
Don't want Paddy going through any unnecessary discomfort.
No.
Because of us. So
just call it out, Paddy. We're with you. Let's end the show on the basis of you.
All right, gentlemen. It's been an absolute honour serving with you all season. And we're all going to take a much-earned rest for a week or so. And then we'll be back with a series of shows of interest with special guests.
Are you going to be laying down any new tunes over the close season, Gav? You got any new music planned?
Yeah, well, I've got at least one that was in the works.
Can we do a sort of review show and put on? I want to hear Chris Boyd tune again. Shut up, face. That was just so funny.
All right. Well, maybe for every show over the summer, we'll play a much loved classic from the vault. How's about that?
Brilliant.
All right, everyone in the comments, thank you so much. As always, you're as much part of the show as the people on the screen, sometimes more so. Lots of good comments there tonight. And thanks for being with us all season. help us spread the word. Tell your friends. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And all that stuff. So 2023-24 comes to a close. Celtic have won the double. And I think it's been a hugely successful season for a Celtic world. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep,
100%.
absolutely.
Okay.
Any word of Manscaped? No.
No sponsors as of yet. And if there are, it won't be. It'll have to be something of vague relevance, if there is such a thing. If we ever do that. Anyway, don't worry about that. Until next time, which is Thursday week. Hail, hail, everyone.
Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
God bless Brendan Rodgers.